So, the last few weeks we've been talking about the four foundations of mindfulness, and I'm just going to do kind of a recap tonight. Several of our regulars are working and can't be here, um, and they were expressing an interest in learning something new and they didn't want to miss it. So, I think it's a good time to just kind of recap what we already talked about. So, the first foundation of mindfulness is the body. And the second is feeling tones. Third is the mind states, and the fourth is contemplation of the dharmas. So we're working on the first and the second ones. And the first one, contemplation of the body, we began by paying attention to our short breath in and our short breath out, and our long breath in and our long breath out. And so what this does is it teaches us to start practicing and exercising that muscle to be mindful. So as we're breathing in short, we're really aware of it because it's a short breath. We're intentionally breathing in short. And the same for the long breath. So this is training the mind to be aware of what we're doing. It's not necessarily to make us better breathers. It's to make us more aware of the breath coming in and out. It gives us something to focus on so our mind doesn't tend to wander off, which minds do. And then the other part of the body contemplation was the breathing and experiencing that breath in the entire body. So you're aware of your lungs moving, you're aware of how you're feeling, gaining that oxygen, all of it. And then the mindfulness of postures, how you're sitting. This teaches us an awareness of how we walk through the world when we're walking or reaching or standing, sitting, lying down. We're just conscious of what our body's doing and how we're using our body. So this awareness is a really good practice just to start out with and begin. We'll do some of that in our meditation as we settle in now. So let's go ahead and do a quick settling in meditation. We'll sit up fairly straight but comfortably. And we like to sit up straight so we don't fall asleep because sometimes we get a little sleepy when we're sitting. So we want to sit up straight but relaxed, keeping the belly soft. Letting your hands rest in your lap or your arms are heavy at your side. And gently closing your eyes or softening your gaze. And taking a few deep breaths in just to help our body relax. And as we exhale, letting go of any stress or tension that we're holding in the body. Feeling ourselves settle into our seat. And scanning the body, relaxing the shoulders, looking for any tension that we're holding. Maybe in our jaw muscle. And again, our belly, we can keep our belly soft. And our body begins to feel a little heavier as we sit here relaxing. Being very aware of how we're sitting, the contact points where we're sitting in our seat. We might notice that it's either, if we're on a cushion, it's soft. It could be on a firm surface. It could be cool or warm. And then bringing our attention to our breath. And we'll do some intentional breathing. Just a short breath in, maybe 2 seconds, and a short breath out. And we'll keep repeating that. Short breath in, short breath out. So as we're practicing the short breath in and short breath out, we're very aware of the air entering our nostrils, exiting our nostrils. We're aware of how it feels in our chest, the expansion and contraction. Sometimes it's not very comfortable. Sometimes it feels as if we're trying to catch our breath. And we're just very aware of all of that. And now we'll switch to taking a longer breath in, maybe counting to 5, and exhaling, trying to keep the same length, maybe counting to 5. You can choose your own numbers, but as a general rule, 5 or 6 counts in and then out. And then become aware of that pause in between the out breath and the in breath. Breathing in long, there's a pause. Breathing out, there's another pause. And you might just watch that and see if one is actually longer than the other. Maybe the in breath in between the out and the in may be shorter or longer than the opposite pause. And then just allowing the breath to be natural. Following the entire breath in, touching on the tip of our nose, air enters our nostrils. You can feel it on the back of our throat. Our lungs expand and contract as we exhale, noticing the different temperature in the exhale, the warmer breath on the upper lip. You might notice that as we're breathing naturally, our mind has a tendency to wander. We're not quite as focused. It's not quite as intentional. So when the mind wanders, we just come back to the breath and begin again. You may want to check and see if your body has tightened up at all from the short and long breaths. Sometimes our shoulders go up or our belly tightens. And we can just relax those areas and then go back to following the breath. And now checking in with your body. Notice any areas that may have tightened up. Staying with the natural rhythm of the breath. And the breath has this natural rising and falling, like the waves on a shoreline. So again, this breathing awareness practice lays the groundwork for training our awareness, training our mind to be alert to whatever is going on. And the thoughts drift in. We come back to the breath. We don't need to get caught in their story. So following the breath is very relaxing. Sometimes it can make us feel a little sleepy, especially if we've been working all day and we're tired. A suggestion, if you're feeling like you're going to fall asleep, is to just keep your eyes open and soften your gaze. That way you're not quite so likely to fall asleep. So the second foundation of mindfulness is the feeling tones. And by feeling tones, we mean the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral tones of our physical feelings, our emotions, all of it. We can look at how we're feeling and be with it, be aware and conscious of how our body's feeling, how our emotions are feeling. When we shift our attention to the feeling tones and decide whether something is pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, it's an indication of a few things. If something is pleasant, we tend to have this feeling of desire wake up. Oh, I like ice cream and I'm having ice cream. Maybe I'll have another bowl of ice cream. And that happens. Sometimes you can do that for yourself. Why not? But to do it all the time is not a healthy thing to do. And it can lead to unwholesome living. Our goal would be to live in a wholesome life, which creates happiness. If we don't like something, we have a real good reaction to that. We tend to, that just wakes up all of our aversion. No, I don't like that. I'm not going to do that. And we can talk ourselves into getting into a mood about it. We can get really emotional and the people around us can be affected. So being aware of that tone when it comes up, we can decide how we want to move forward. Do we want to get caught in that story or do we want to let it go? Sometimes it's important to stay in a story because of many reasons. Sometimes you don't have any choice in the matter. Let's say you stubbed your toe and it hurts, and we don't like that, but it's going to hurt for a while. We also know that it's temporary, right? Everything rises and falls, just like our breath. So when we're doing our breath practice, we're reminding ourselves that nothing lasts forever. Everything is impermanent. And that's important. That's an important thing to remember. So if we get caught in the feeling tones of greed or aversion, we can also get caught in the tone of delusion or apathy, which is often the neutral zone. If something isn't really pleasant or it's not really unpleasant, it's just kind of neutral. It's kind of boring. Imagine things that may or may not be real. We can easily go into delusion, or we can go into apathy. I really don't care. And not caring there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I don't care for something. I just don't feel one way or another, but that's okay. We just don't want to stay there. We don't want to stay in that not caring zone because then we're not living a wholesome life. We're not living our life fully. Bhikkhu Bodhi says, turning a feeling into an object of mindfulness diffuses the feeling so that it doesn't trigger an unwholesome response, but is instead seen as merely an impersonal factor of experience. So that's why we practice this. We practice being aware of how we're feeling and turning it into a mindfulness exercise, just to be aware. This is how I'm feeling. The purpose of the mindfulness as a whole is not only to realize that we're missing parts of our life, but it's to be aware of how we can fill those parts that we might be missing Are we here? Are we experiencing now? Are we really in today? Or is our mind in yesterday or tomorrow? The other thing that we tend to do as humans is if something is unpleasant, we tend to remember it more than anything wonderful. Somebody can give you 5 compliments and somebody can give you 1 criticism, and we will remember the criticism. We're very good at doing that. And the problem can become where we hold on to that and run it through our head over and over and over again. We can really drive ourselves crazy with this thinking of, politics, religion, people we don't like or do like. We can go on and on and on and drive ourselves crazy with this constant cycling of thoughts. That is also not very wholesome if it's a negative thought, if we're really stuck on the complaining. So paying attention to the way each thought arises and then stays present for a while, we name it, and then it passes away. And we learn to stop that cycle, that runaway train of thought. And it helps us develop this non-judgmental awareness. And this is important. Seeing a particular feeling as one of many feelings rather than something that stands out or is a part of me. It's simply a feeling. Feelings don't describe who we are. Feelings don't define us. They're simply feelings. And the other part of it is we don't own a feeling. Feelings are feelings. We don't own them. They become our feelings when we won't let them go. And that not letting them go is what can drive us kind of batty, and everyone around us too, if we're not careful. Seeing a feeling as simply an emotion or a sensation rather than my feelings helps us to accept that impermanent nature of feelings, whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And the point of all of this is that we're happier people when we live in wholesome states rather than unwholesome states. So this is the practice. Where are we? How's my breathing? Am I aware? Am I aware of how I'm using my body today? Am I pulling weeds and aware of how I'm using my body? Every emotion, every thought, are we aware of it? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Is it wholesome? Are we living a happy life with these thoughts that we're having? Can we let them go if they're causing us pain? So it's just a practice like anything else. We get better at it as we practice. And we're all kind of looking for that happier feeling, aren't we? And this is a really good way to start. Okay, then we'll go ahead and move forward with the meditation. I'm going to suggest a few things along the lines of what I just spoke about, and we can practice those in our meditation. I'm going to leave some long gaps too. So you can practice with any of the thoughts that come into your mind, naming them pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, being aware of any aches or pains in your body, maybe being aware of the fact that you're just quite comfortable. All of those awareness practices. So let's sit up straight in a comfortable position where we won't fall asleep. And gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Taking a few deep breaths and relaxing as you exhale, letting your body settle. Maybe doing a body scan to see If there's any areas that can be let go a bit more, the shoulders, jaw muscle, the belly, letting your arms be heavy, and trying to continue to keep this physical feeling tone as we stay with the breath. So we can be with the body and the breath at the same time. And breathing in, experiencing the entire breath in and the entire breath out. Noticing the pauses in between the breaths. Just letting your body breathe naturally as we observe the body breathing. Staying with that natural ebb and flow, that rhythm. Notice what kind of thoughts enter your mind, and then coming back to the breath. And continuing to allow the body to breathe naturally. Maybe do a scan and see what kind of sensations you're feeling in the body. You might feel some tingling. You may feel a pulse. Just notice whatever sensations that come to you in your awareness. And check in with yourself. Just notice how you're feeling right now. Noticing what your mood is. How would you describe that? As pleasant or unpleasant or neutral? And not having a judgment about it, just identifying it. And then coming back to the body, doing a scan, noticing any areas that might be tight. What does that feel like? What do those tones feel like? And then always returning to the breath. And now you can bring up something that may have happened this week that was not pleasant. Something small, nothing big. And just notice where you might feel that in your body. And now letting that go, coming back to the breath, and thinking of something pleasant, whether it happened this week or perhaps it's a person or a pet or an event, something that was pleasant. And notice where you feel that in the body. And remind yourself that both of these, pleasant and unpleasant, are impermanent, are temporary. And now letting go of all thoughts, staying with the rhythm of your breath for the next little while we meditate together. Anytime a thought returns, you can just label it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and come back to the breath. So we want to bring this practice with us throughout each day. And be aware of any physical sensations, any emotions that need attention, reminding ourselves that everything is impermanent, all emotions, all physical feelings. There is chronic pain for some, yet even that ebbs and flows. And reminding ourselves that feelings are simply feelings. They're not good or bad. We can label them pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Beyond that, we don't really need to know anything about it. We don't need to have judgment about it. We can simply be aware, practicing our awareness. And we can repeat this phrase for the next few minutes to ourselves. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe from harm. May all beings live with ease. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe from harm. May all beings live with ease. Thank you for meditating with me. So, any questions or comments on anything that came up? Anything you sat with that was pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral?
Sensation.
Which sensations? Physical?
When you were saying about how what's going on in your body and stuff like that, my head thumps with my heart. It's like sometimes it's irritating.
Mm.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I just don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it becomes a subject, then I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how we get used to things. Mm-hmm. Is that pretty chronic? Does that happen most of the time?
Mm-hmm. If I pay attention to it.
Yeah. So we get used to it, we don't pay attention to it, we don't know it's there till you stop and do a check.
And then you do a check.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I forgot all about that. Now for the next week.
Did you label it unpleasant then?
No, I labeled it as there.
There, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, just there. How are we doing out there, Zoomies? Doing good? Yeah, okay. Any questions before we wrap it up tonight?
Well, ask Delia for.
Feather, are you raising your hand to ask a question, or are you saying hello?
Ask her if her cat was meditating.
Yeah, Aditi, was your cat meditating with us tonight? Yeah, cats are good at that, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I do a meditation in the morning. Sit in that chair.
Okay, well, thank you all for being here. It was wonderful as always. Have a wonderful week. Hope to see you again next week. I love you all. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.